Yeah, it's in a bat cave somewhere. That's where it is. If we had to go in a very deep elevator that goes far under the earth, and there he has his two guitars were stored.
Hey everyone, I'm Katie Darrell, and now listen, Waylon Jennings is popping by to say hi. What's going on, dude?
Hey, how you doing?
I am really good. I've got a little game, a wordplay with you. When I say butterscotch blonde, what do you think of?
Butterscotch blonde. I mean, you think that's what they call the guitar coat, isn't it?
Yeah! The limited edition Waylon Jennings Telecaster is butterscotch blonde. It's just like you want it to be like a scratch and sniff sticker from the 80s.
Right, I know. And you don't actually see the butterscotch blonde because it's covered in leather. But it's it's inside of it. What's really wild about it is that we opened, when I came to Fender with this idea of doing a replica of my dad's guitars, we took them to where his actual guitars are stored, and they got to like look at them and look what was behind the leather. That's when they discovered that it was this butterscotch blonde color, because it could have really been anything under that leather, but it appears in little spots in the back. And so with this Tele that they made, it has the same areas where you can kind of see through where the coloring was. But yeah, butterscotch blonde.
All right, so now I have some follow-up questions. So first off, you said you brought them to where your father's guitars are stored. This makes me feel this is very Mission Impossible. This is the Bat Cave. Clearly, there's lasers, there's controlled temperatures and thermostats. Like, set the scene. Like, where are things like this stored?
It's in a bat cave somewhere. That's where it is. If we had to go in a very deep elevator that goes far under the earth, and there he has his two guitars were stored.
So the Waylon Jennings estate has the guitars, and Fender comes to you. You want to do this replica, this Telecaster, and they get to deconstruct it. Is the word that I read. Does that just mean the lifting of the leather, or truly, are they opening and taking what are they doing to it?
What they did was they took out, there's a little panel where the volume knob and all that is, and they took that out and looked at the wiring under there, and they took the bridge apart, and they the leather is kind of fastened on there in a way that you can't get it off without really ruining it. So they couldn't do that. So they were just opened up as much as they could of both guitars, and took all these crazy measurements. One of the most important details is the neck on my dad's guitar is really small. It's not smaller than normal Tele necks. So they were kind of taking all these notes on this number one guitar, but using the hardware and electronics from the number two guitar.
Well, Shooter, you learned how to play the guitar, according to your bio, around the age of 14. So your dad's guitars, is that what you started out with? Or were you handed something else, your own Excalibur?
No. I've never been a great guitar player. It was always out of necessity. And I love the way that my dad's guitar sounded and the way he played. And I always loved it. Just weird. I just connected with piano so much differently. My mom's side of it, I guess.
I mean, obviously, music runs in your blood. Like I mentioned, you picked up the guitar and kind of fiddled around starting around 14. But before that, it was drums around age 5, piano at 8. You were very humble when discussing your own guitar playing. And this is a legit question, all right? I don't want to go Freud, but have you ever peeled the onion and gone into the therapy of that?
Guitar, I saw it as a tool that I needed to learn. And I played, when I produced Marilyn Manson's record, I played most of the lead guitar on that record. I can play guitar. He was very encouraging to me doing that, but it's just not something I'm passionate about. I always had a lead guitar player in whatever incarnation of a band that I had, because the 10,000 hours, I wanted to spend those elsewhere. I didn't want to spend them in a guitar in a room.
Let's talk about how you are the Swiss Army knife of genres and producing, and you can play in the sandbox with everyone. It really is astounding, because there's so many artists that are don't label me, don't put me in a genre, and after you get done with the interview, you're like, oh yeah, you're just rock and roll dude. But you're not. I mean, listen, you've worked with Marilyn Manson, Duff McKagan, Brandy Carlisle, Tanya Tucker. The variety is overwhelming. Is your brain like a compartmentalized brain? How does it work in there that you don't let things bleed over too much and that you can really, chunk that up so well?
I grew up that way. Like I grew up listening to MTV. I was a huge MTV kid, and I watched it all day long, and that was pretty much every genre except for country,
I was gonna say, except country, dude.
Right.
They didn't touch that.
Right. And so it was like, but I was getting that on the other end, and so for me, I was very much like, I had all those Manson records, and all that music is a huge part of who I am. So it's just really fulfilling to me. So like, the itch for me is to be in the studio and to just keep making new things. That's really what it is. It boils down to.
Is there an artist that's really exciting you right now?
It's a lot of young ladies. Like I love this local Honey's band, and I like this Angela Autumn girl. And there's a bunch of really cool stuff in that Americana space that's in country space that's happening. So many great artists like Sierra Farrell. I love. I've been doing a record with Robert Randolph that has been so much fun, like a rock record, which is awesome. And then, I just love finding new people and connecting with people. And
well, let me ask you this. So you're working with so many artists, and you get into the studio and you produce the heck out of anyone and everyone. But we're here really talking today about the limited edition Waylon Jennings Telecaster.
Yes.
But I mean, really, will you have one of those guitars and have it in the studio and have it readily available? And it will show up on some tracks, do you think?
Yes, I don't have it with me, but I had the prototype, and I have the prototype, and they sent it to me, and I used it on several records. It has this really strong sound. It's very unique to a Telecaster sound. I've never heard anything like it. But it's very it can be very aggressive, and it can be very warm at the same time. It's cool.
Well, that's really rad. Well, listen, it is a piece of art. This guitar is beautiful looking. Every time, though, it's so funny. Every time, Fender reaches out to me, they're like, oh, we've got a new signature guitar dropping. And every time I see one, I'm like, oh, this was my favorite yet. You're like, oh, the John 5 Ghost. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, the Pinky. And now I'm like, this one, damn it. They keep outdoing themselves. So congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. It's very nice to meet you.
There. Thanks for watching AXS TV. Subscribe, follow, like, and do all the good stuff. And make sure you leave a comment below. I don't know, just let us know what your favorite AXS TV show is, or who your favorite bands are, and what artists you're into, or just say hi, man. I'd like to be told hi. We love hearing from you. That's the point, all right? Keep it coming.